Well, hello there. I'm really glad to see you in my channel. Today's topic might be very familiar to you. Clone Wars TV show is loved by many. Most of the audience think it's good, most of the critics think it's pretty good. And overall, this love for the TV show from many different fans around the world has resulted in something very unusual. The show has been resurrected from the dead, which let me tell you doesn't happen very often to cancel TV shows. To be honest though, in the years when it was coming out, I never really got around to watching it. I saw a few episodes throughout the years of its existence, heard about Darth Maul coming back, saw some of the duels on YouTube and stuff like that, but that's it. I do love Star Wars though, so recently I finally found time to watch the entire show, up until the freshest season that is. And I gotta admit, the show is very good. It does have a few flaws though, and because of that I thought, why not look back at the show's highs and lows? Because pointing out only the good episodes or only the bad episodes wouldn't show the whole picture. So, here I present to you top 5 best and 5 worst Star Wars Clone Wars episodes. Not including the final season that is, since it's very fresh and people might still be watching it. I'll leave it for another time though. So, let's start off with the worst one at number 5.
This is where the fun begins.
And this will be season 4, episode 5, Mercy Mission. This episode follows the adventures of C-3PO and R2. And I'll be honest, I generally have problems with the episodes fully devoted to these two, simply because they are quite boring. Their personalities are well known, you do not expect anything new from them, and mostly, episodes with those two follow a very similar formula all the time. C-3PO gets into trouble because of his clumsiness, R2 follows to save him, and they end up doing something heroic in the end. Not always on purpose. Now in regards to this episode, it's what I just described, plus extreme goofiness from the locals, and even more boredom. There is no really danger to the characters in this episode really. Two droids are just doing what they always do, and of course end up saving everyone. Maybe some kids enjoy these types of episodes, but I don't think I would even like it as a kid honestly. Once again, boring and not important at all.
Me, madam?
I can't eat you.
Well, that's a relief.
Now let's switch to the 5th best episode in my opinion this time, and it will be season 4 episode 20, Bounty. In this one, Boba Fett, who is not a kid anymore but also not a full grown up yet.
You got a problem with that? My name's Boba, and this is Heising.
Goes on to an assignment with his bounty hunter buddies. It is worth noting that this team includes Bosk and Dengar, but the main character this episode though is Asajj Ventress, who gets herself into the team by a mistake. What this episode does good is it tells us a solid story with a minor twist at the end, shows us more bounty hunters, which is always appreciated, as well as develops Ventress' character more, shifting our perception of her more towards being an anti-hero rather than a villain. There is also a good amount of action in this episode, and overall it's just a solid story that I believe deserves number 5 best on my list.
Once I was just like you, but I'm not that person anymore. Now, I have a future.
Now, moving on to the 4th worst one, and that will be season 1 episode 8, Bombad Jedi. First things first, it's a Jar Jar episode, and I know kids probably enjoy these types of episodes, but I have real difficulties digesting them.
Misa made contact!
Oh dear.
In this one, Padme goes on to a mission together with C-3PO and Jar Jar, and everything annoying you can think of happens. Padme is taken hostage and Jar Jar decides to save her. Yep. Annoying Jar Jar screams, goofy chasings, inability of anyone to shoot him, and of course, Jar Jar ends up saving the day. Now this episode is not as high on the list for 2 reasons. First, it's first season. You can forgive them for not making best decisions in the first season. They were primarily targeting very young kids after all. Who knew adults are gonna watch this anyway? And the second thing is that this episode realizes its ridiculousness, at least in a way, by throwing dialogues like this.
Go back to the ship and call for help.
I regret the transmitters on the ship are out of order.
What?
The ship has been destroyed.
Battle droids?
No.
Jar Jar?
Jar Jar.
But overall, this episode is pretty bad, and it definitely deserves number 4 worst on my list. Now moving on back to the best episodes. 4th best episode will be season 5 episode 1, Revival. Now this is a very good yet simple Jedi action episode. We have Obi-Wan together with Adigalia, Basically, they are going onto a mission to stop Maul and his brother from causing chaos, and killing lots of innocents throughout the galaxy. This episode has some great and intense lightsaber fighting, coupled with an interesting plot that develops more and more. There is the famous pirate Hondo, who joins on the good guy's side even for a moment, and fights to reclaim his crew from Maul. The story is filled with action, and it's honestly hard to predict where it's gonna go, which is probably one of the greatest things this show can achieve. I was simply enjoying every bit of it, waiting in ecstasy of what is gonna happen. There is death, treachery, and once again, beautiful fights. The final confrontation where Obi-Wan fights Maul and Savage alone is simply spectacular and deserves a separate rewatch by itself, honestly. Once again, a great episode and a deserved 4th best place. Sliding to the other side now, 3rd worst episode will be season 6 episode 8, The Disappeared. This one is another Jar Jar episode, yep, but that's not the main problem. First of all, this is a season number 6. At this point, you would have expected them to be over with Jar Jar stuff already, right? But they create this, and even extend the story to more than one episode, sadly. The plot is quite ridiculous. Jar Jar visits his former lover, who is also a queen, to improve the relationship of her planet and the Republic. Now Mace Windu accompanies him, and here's the second thing that is wrong. Somehow they managed to make Mace Windu quite lame in this episode. Putting Mace into a surrounding of weird looking goofy creatures kind of kills his charisma, and makes him look goofy as well.
You will let me inside.
You should know better, Master Jedi. That will not work on a Dagoyan.
Overall, this episode is boring. You do not care about how heroes will solve the problem, and I was kind of hoping there would be some kind of twist at the end. But no, it's all plain predictable, and I would definitely advise to skip this episode if you haven't. They actually achieved making Mace Windu goofy, and that's why I'm putting this on 3rd worst place in the list. The 3rd best episode, on the other hand, is going to be season 5 episode 15, Shades of Reason. This is the episode where Maul launches an attack to take over Mandalore, together with the Death Watch. And it is just beautiful. The pacing, the story, the action, everything looks great. And the finale of the episode, where Maul becomes the official ruler of Mandalore after winning at King's Duel, is just astounding. Now I was thinking for a long time if I should put this episode here, or the episode after this one, where Darth Sidious comes and fights Maul and his brother. I decided to go with this one, but honestly I think they both deserve to be on this spot, which is the 3rd best episode on my list. Well, we are moving to the 2nd worst now, and this is the one you could probably see coming. Remember how a bunch of Gungans defeated General Grievous? Now this is the episode. Season 4, episode 4, Shadow Warrior. Everything pretty much sucks in this episode. We once again have Jar Jar in the spotlight. What a surprise. This time he has to pretend that he is a leader of Gungans, and shift the public opinion against Grievous's army. Now the plot makes sense for a while, until Gungans decide that they will attack Grievous, although they were about to help him in the beginning of the episode, which simply proves that Gungans have very low IQ in general. I honestly felt embarrassed seeing how Grievous gets beaten down like an amateur. But wait, it gets worse. In the exact same episode, Dooku attacks Anakin, takes him hostages, and trades him over Grievous. So we basically go to square one, in one episode. Honestly, it's just lazy writing and a very well deserved 2nd worst spot. Okay, we are getting really close to the top now. Second best is going to be Season 5 Episode 20, Wrong Jedi. I would say it is hard to outline one specific episode of the story, since the whole story is really good, and it has to be watched fully. But if I have to choose one episode, it will be Episode 20, which is the last one in the season. Now, long story short, Ahsoka was expelled from a Jedi Order, and now is being hunted by her former friends for a crime she did not commit. So she has to prove she is innocent, until it's too late, of course. Now, this episode is just great. It honestly reminds me of those detective movies where you thought you knew who the killer is, but got proven wrong. This episode is a good story, great action, and a huge character development for Ahsoka. It is one of the most important episodes for Clone Wars overall, if not the most important one. But there is something better. So yeah, this episode gets a second best place for me. And if you still haven't watched the story of Ahsoka leaving Jedi Order, you should definitely do it now. The full story is episodes 17 to 20 of Season 5.
It is the Council's opinion that Padawan Ahsoka Tano has committed sedition against the Republic, and thus she will be expelled from the Jedi Order.
You can't do this!
Your Padawan status will be stripped from you, and you shall forfeit all rank and privileges within the Grand Army of the Republic. You will be turned over to the Republic courts to await your trial, and whatever punishment they will set for you. Henceforth, you are barred from the Jedi Order.
Now, before we get to the worst of the worst and best of the best, I want to mention some episodes that were truly outstanding but did not make the list. Outstanding in a good way, that is. First is Heavy and his team, plus 99's first appearance in Season 3 Episode 1, followed up by a story of how Fives found out about Order 66, in the 6th season, that is, in the very first episodes. And lastly, I wanted to mention a story of how Obi-Wan went undercover into a criminal syndicate, and even ended up facing Anakin and Ahsoka in a fight. Those are Season 4 Episode 15 to 16. Now, I probably missed some really good episodes from the top, which wouldn't be surprising since the show is filled with worthy episodes. So if I did, please let me know. Now, one last thing before we continue. I would really appreciate if you liked and subscribed to my channel. This will help me a lot. And if you do, my gracious thank you for your support. And now let's move on to the very worst episode this show has, in my opinion. And this will be Season 3 Episode 8, Evil Plans. Now, this episode does not have Jar Jar in it, which is surprising, but it has my confusion over its existence. The plot follows C-3PO and R2 going into the market to buy groceries. Yes, you heard me right. They then get kidnapped by Cad Bane, he gets what he wants from their heads, erases their memories, and brings them back. And that's it. All of this could have been 1 minute or less, but instead they went for the whole episode dedicated to this. Not only that, but in the beginning of the episode, when R2 leaves 3PO alone, which results in his capture of course, he goes to a, get this, robot freaking spa. Honestly, this episode is just lazy writing, boring, stupid, and I would even say it's infuriating. It's just not worth watching absolutely at all, and it takes my first place in worst episodes. Now, let's get to the best of the best.
How much would 4 cost?
How much you got, my friend?
R2, make sure you watch our credits.
My grandpa always told me, don't watch your credits, watch your health. So while I was watching my health, someone stole my credits. My grandpa, jeez.
A cautionary tale indeed.
And the best episode there is Season 4 Episode 10, Carnage on Krell.
Good. We can use it as a staging area.
That's it. Take a run right.
And no, it is definitely not correct to outline a single episode in this case, because this whole story is absolutely astounding. But if I have to choose one, it's Carnage on Krell, which is a culmination of the 4 episodes worth of story from this season. And I'll be honest, in my opinion, this is the best Clone Wars story there is right now, even considering the new season. The plot follows Rex and his fellow clone troopers under a command of Anakin as they attack separatists on a planet of Bombad. Then out of nowhere, Anakin is called to a separate urgent matter on Coruscant, which results in him leaving his clone troopers behind. Another Jedi, whose name is Master Krell, is put in command, and that is where the most interesting thing starts.
Council has ordered you back to Coruscant, effective immediately.
What? Why?
I'm afraid a request was made by the Supreme Chancellor, and the Council obliged. That is all they would tell me.
Well, I can't just leave my men.
I'll be taking over in the interim.
Don't worry about a thing, sir. We'll have this city under Republic control by the time you're back.
This Jedi Master has absolutely no remorse for clones, and uses them as cannon fodder. He orders the most extreme tactics that cause many casualties, even when there are far more superior and safer tactics. Rex is starting to lose his brothers, but not because of the enemy, but because of the ally. Meanwhile, Krell doesn't want to listen to any critique of his tactic, and he's ready to take extreme measures on anyone who disobeys him.
CT-7567, do you have a malfunction in your design? You've pulled your forces back from taking the capital city. The enemy now has control of this route. This entire operation has been compromised because of your failure!
General Krell, in case you haven't noticed, Captain Rex just saved this platoon. Surely you won't fail to recognize that.
Arc 5555, stand down.
Sir, yes, sir. Sir, if I may address your accusation, I followed your orders, even in the face of a plan that was, in my opinion, severely flawed. A plan that cost us men, not clones, men!
Now, this story is an absolute masterpiece in my opinion because of many things. One of them is the morale. It can be applied in real life as well, actually. We can see a clear comparison of normal soldiers who just want to try to survive and do their duty, and people in command, who make decisions that can destroy thousands of lives. Now, what if the person in command is incompetent? You cannot disobey a higher rank in the army. Same here. And that's the main conflict. It's mature and it's beautiful.
Sir, we can't possibly—
You must stand your ground! Do you read me? Captain, are you listening? Do not fall back! That is an order!
The platoons are in the formation you requested, General. Should I send them to support Captain Rex?
I'll give the order when I give it, Sergeant Apple.
What's also notable is that all characters in the story are new, and have appeared only in the show and not in the movies. So I was literally tied to the screen, trying to figure out who will die or survive. How will the story end? I had no idea. And no, I haven't watched Rebels at that time yet, so I didn't know who would survive the Clone Wars. Amongst the clones, that is. If you missed this story arc or have not seen it yet, then I absolutely recommend you to do it. This is a story about clones, and this is the best Clone Wars story in my opinion. All of it unfolds in Season 4, Episodes 7 to 10. Now, this was my top 10 best and worst Star Wars Clone Wars episodes, and I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, I would really appreciate your like and subscription. As of today, that is pretty much it for now. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.